All right, what is up, guys and gals, fellow targeted people out there? My name is Nicholas Falcone, and tonight I'm going to be talking to you, hopefully in a short form video. I'm going to start trying to make shorter form videos, more succinct, so people want to watch them. When they think people get turned off when they see an hour-long video, it's hard for people to focus, pay attention. And I apologize for that, but the topics that I'm discussing here all run on that long. So I have been targeted myself, covertly recorded since the late 80s or early 90s in my neurology, manipulated throughout the history of my life in one form or another. People around me throughout my life have been manipulated. Things in my life have been manipulated by the computer system through the simulation that we have been living in. And 2006 was the first time I felt any directed energy. It was to my scalp, and then it went away for a while, came back. Then that was covert. I didn't know at that time. Then fast forward to about 2015, 2016, in that range there, where the overt chatterbot with associated physical directed energy was beginning to be implemented on me and has been consistent ever since then, running through the phases, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So what I'm going to talk about tonight is going to be phase 1 of your simulation, meaning it's your, if you want to watch my overt, covert video where I talk about the difference between overt and covert, meaning whether you hear the chatterbot or not. So then you will be overtly targeted when you hear the chatbot, because then you know something is wrong. It's not hearing voices. You know it's an AI chatterbot system that is talking to you. All right, let's get to it here. So this is phase 1. The overall phase 1 of this entire program, this brain control simulation directed energy program, whether you have all or one of those things going on, is going to be the recording phase. When the system heterodynes you, when the system gets your brain and has a profile number associated to your neurology on the computer system. So you have a simulation or a simulant identification number for your brain, for your neurology, for your profile. And your profile is an organic profile up until the time that the computer system starts to manipulate your life and starts to inject things into you. All of these people out here around you, and whenever I point here, I'm pointing out to the rest of society and the rest of the population. They all have a profile on the computer somewhere. They may have never been telepathized with, manipulated, had an injection into their head of a thought or a neural pattern or anything like that. They may have just been strictly recorded, and their neurology is just recorded day after day after day after minute after minute after minute. They are just a simulant in a simulated reality. But it is a reality to them that is their own organic, authentic reality, because they have never been messed with by the computer system at all. They have strictly just been recorded. Their neurology, all the neural patterns are authentic. Their profile is their profile, hasn't been manipulated or anything. They're just a regular simulant. They haven't been put together with somebody in an artificial relationship, made to fall in love with somebody that they never really liked. It happened with me in my last relationship that I was in a number of years ago that derived my child. Once the plug was pulled and we were desocialized from one another as a part of beginning phase 1 of the targeting, I realized, I'm like, wow, I really did not like that chick. Maybe she was okay, but not to the degree that was kind of going on. And, there's a lot to get into there. I'll get into it in another video some other time. But I was like, man, it's odd. And she was kind of the same way. She went her way, I went my way, and that was it. There was never a want to ever come back. Not that the computer was going to have that happen, but, and that's a typical thing. When you have a simulated relationship, they're putting people together all the time, making people love or like each other, putting couples together, whether you get married or not, breaking them apart, making them get back together, breaking them apart, whether you produce a child out of that or not. Computer's responsible for a lot of relationships and a lot of breakups and a lot of divorces. All right, so now phase one, like I said, phase one overall is your beginning recording. Once they get your brain and your identification through your neurology on the system, that is phase one technically. But phase one for the simulation, once the computer starts to do things to you, and usually overtly, but this can be covert too. So let me write that down. Let me finish my sherbet here. I'll give you an update on my body too while I'm finishing my ice cream. So overall, recently, the computer has targeted the brain. Obviously, every single night that I go to sleep, that's when the computer will hit you. A lot of you guys have that happen. The way to deter that, like Robert Duncan said in his book, is to get a security camera or some sort of camera mechanism in your room. Have it be not hooked up to any Wi-Fi or anything like that. Hook it into a DVR, some sort of recording mechanism, some storage device. Have a camera hooked into a storage device where you have almost unlimited storage. That's not hooked into a system at all, that the computer could get into because of a static identification address, like a Bluetooth signal or an IP address. It's just an analog recording system, with HD, and then put it on you at nighttime. Then take your electromagnetic radiation detectors, of which you should have probably 2 or 3. Then hover them, one over your head right here above your bed, and make sure it's in view of the camera and it has an audible sound for when it gets increased. So you're going to hear a beep here. You hear that beep? That little... Well, as the EMF level increases on this is an app that I have on this TCL Alcatel A3 phone. As the EMF level increases, that sound will go higher in pitch. It'll go... And that'll be, you won't have to have the number on the screen. The audible pitch increase will be enough to know that there has been a manipulation or an increase in the EMF level at either your head, by your crotch, your chest. So you want to have multiple ones of these, mainly on your head down to your crotch area, your pelvic area, even though it'll radiate your joints and your legs and your feet and all that stuff too. But at least it'll somewhat protect you from the nightly radiation. And I should take the advice of myself, but I haven't. So I get nightly radiated. Eventually, after all of these years, they surmise 15 to 20 years of cellular energy on your anatomy. Not surmise, they did a scientific research study. 15 to 20 years of cellular energy on your anatomy will relate to proliferation of tumors in the areas affected. So look for tumor formation in the areas affected on your nightly radiation. Over the course of 15 to 20 years, you should start proliferating cancer. It's just what it is. This is a quasi-cellular energy, so you can just relate it to you're a walking cell phone. That's it. You're literally a walking cell phone. All right, so I get into that, I think, in one of my other videos about how you're a walking cell phone. But yeah, that's it. So if you can get some sort of a camera, hook it into a DVR, a digital video recorder, and that'll be your repository for all of your videos. So you can get terabytes and terabytes and terabytes in there, hopefully. And then make sure that the numbers on your EMF detector, hopefully it's something like what I have because it's pretty accurate, and then have it have an audible pitch that relates to increase and decrease of electromagnetic radiant energy. So that way, if something happens to the site of the number, that you can still hear the audible pitch increase and decrease. Hover it as close as you can without being, in the middle of the night where you'll smack it away or the computer will have you raise your arm and smack it off the ceiling. Like it has me spill drinks in my bed all the time. It'll have, that's another thing. The computer can make you spill drinks in your bed and do all kinds of dumb shit. So, do that. You'll probably be better for it. Your radiation will be less. And so my brain, my eyes, my throat, definitely my neck and my throat are bad. I'm probably, in all my estimations, going to get some form of otolaryngological, meaning auto, ear, throat, mouth cancer, almost definitely. Eye cancer, brain cancer, some sort of colorectal cancer, probably. That's just all the areas on me that have been hit to a high level. So, and it continues every night and every day. And they don't offer us any solution, that's for sure. And I've called everywhere, I've talked to everybody. So now let's get to phase one. So phase one of this program is desocialize, isolate mental health care. So with this, as many of you know, you have been through this. Many of you have heard, there's something wrong with you. You need to go get checked out. You've changed. I don't know what's going on with you, but you're different. And you've heard all of those things repetitively, And let me write overt, covert. So if it's covert, obviously you're not here with me. If you're a covert person that's in phase one, you don't know nothing about this. Your family and friends and people that care about you just think, oh, well, it's just somebody who's got mental health problems. There's something different about this person. What's wrong with this person? You need help. Let us help you. And that's if you have people that care about you. There's people that don't have people that care about them that are just, they're screwed. They don't have nobody. Nobody. So, but if you're here and you're watching this, you are an overt person. You hear the chat bot probably, you hear it badgering you and bothering you. But in phase one, for me, I'm going to relate this to me. So you're going to hear me talk a lot about me. So for me, what happened with me was when I went overt and it went from covert to overt, and that tipping point came in where I heard the chatterbot and finally started hearing my own thoughts reverberate to myself, and you're looking for the cameras, you're going, what? I remember in my car, I'm driving the car, right? I'm like this, driving the car, and I'm hearing, you better get home before the state police pull you over, they're going to get you. It's one of the things the chatbot would say to me at nighttime. You better get home, the state police are going to get you. Ooh, what are you doing there? Why are you pulling up here? And if you guys are familiar, in those early days, it's trying to get you to think that there's cameras implanted in your car, trying to get you to think there's cameras in your house, and you're rationalizing in your head going, how in the fuck does somebody know what I'm doing right now? Because it's repeating what you're doing. It's stating verbatim, like, you're going to go to the bathroom, you're going to the bathroom, you're going to wash your hands and all that stuff. And you're like, is there a camera in here? What is this? You hear it in your head. I never once thought for a second that I was hearing voices. I was one of the people that never said, oh, I'm hearing voices. Oh, I hear voices. Never. I didn't say any of that shit. So it never got me to run to a hospital and say, I'm hearing voices. I never told anybody I was hearing voices. Nothing. There's a lot of people that do, and they're fucking nuts because they're going to wrap you up so tight you'll never get out. So I started thinking, I'm like, what is that? I was laying in bed, I was watching TV, and that was the first time I heard the chat bot, and I was watching, the TV and I'm like, what the fuck is that? It's not going with the TV, the voices on the TV. And that's all I kept saying to myself. I kept saying, what the hell is that? I kept saying, what the hell is that? What the hell is that? And I finally asked my girlfriend at the time, do you hear that? Do you hear that? Sounds like somebody's outside over at the neighbor's house here. So she goes outside and she looks in the yard and she said, I don't see nothing. Nobody's out there. So that was the beginning of, do you hear that? And, you know, so the beginning was just really benign, really just like annoying chatting, chatbot bullshit. Now that I know what I know now, it was just really benign, nothing crazy, nothing going on. Just mainly to annoy you and get you a little, desocialized maybe, where if you go outside, there's a correlation. What happened was my girlfriend ended up, I think I threw her out of here at some point, and then she got an apartment, and then I moved in with her over there at the apartment because we got back together. That's what I'm talking about, breaking you apart, getting you back together, breaking you apart, doing all types of dumb relationship shit when it's a computer-generated relationship. So I moved in with her, and that was when I would be up at night because it started doing physical things to me too. Then it started burning my face, burning my leg, hitting me with the directed energy. And at that point in time, I didn't know what the fuck it was. I kept feeling like these pops, felt like gas or like bowel gases popping out of my ass, like puff, 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 shit like that. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? So I would go to the bathroom, I would sit down on the toilet, and I would just sit there and I would go, what is that? I don't know what it is. It feels like, it can make you feel like you're drizzling something out of parts of your body and all kinds of weird shit, all kinds of weird feelings. The entirety of your anatomy, 100%, and your neurology is on this computer system. It can manifest all kinds of energy fields all over your body. This is not something to be fucked with. Like, this is really serious shit. And yeah, so I was over there and I was up all night, be running back and forth to the bathroom, flushing the toilet. And she started going like, what the fuck is going on with this dude? What are you doing? And then I was paying the rent because she didn't work. She was a bum, didn't work, didn't do shit, didn't pay no rent, didn't have any money, never did. Like, for the first 2 years of our relationship, she had a job, but she pissed all of her money away, and then she just stopped working. So again, that's what the computer will do. It'll take one or both of the people in a relationship and just get them to stop working. My mom's husband, my stepdad, he just stopped working, never went back to work. He still isn't back to work. He hasn't worked in 10 years at least. My mom's not with him. She threw him out, but the computer just made him stop working. He literally just stopped working one day. Same thing with her. She never went back to work. Why? Because that stress on the relationship. So with this desocialized thing, what'll happen is if you do have a job at that point in time when it goes overt with you, you're going to start not showing up for work. You're going to, because the chatbot's going to hit you. You're going to hit with the directed energy. You're going to have sleep deprivation was a big one. Holy shit. Sleep deprivation was a big one. It would wake you up at 2:22, 3:33, 4:44, and make you look at the clock. So that way you would go, oh my God, I'm up again at 5:55, 4:44, 3, dumb shit like that. I would be sleep deprived, up all night. For me, it was that weird shit with the puffs, feeling like I was puffing bowel gases out of my ass, which I'll get to that in the next video that I'm going to make. There's something that correlates with that. That is one of the attacks that the computer does that isn't directed energy on you, burning you, dumb shit like that, radiating your face. There's a whole nother level of attacks specific to urine and feces. And I'll get into that in the next video. So I'm over there and I start kind of breaking down a little bit. I'm like, what is this? What is going on? I can't sleep. I'm up, pacing the floor back and forth to the bathroom, sitting on the toilet, wiping, going, there's nothing there. But it feels like there's something leaking out. Feels like I'm like evacuating gas out of my ass. Crazy shit. I admit this stuff. I know you guys have had some crazy shit go on with you physically, whether it's erections for men or I don't know if what happens to women, but all kinds of things. This thing is capable of all kinds of things. So I was down there and I was paying the rent. I was working. I had a business. And I just up and left. I was like, I gotta go. I ran home. So I came home here. This is my house. So I came home here and I remember that was the beginning of the desocialization. I just cut ties and was like, I'm out of here, and ran back here so I could like just try and figure things out. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I don't know what the fuck is going on. This chatbot shit in my head still going on. I didn't know it was a chatbot at that time. And I land here and she's all freaked out for me. Now, it could have been the computer in her neurology, in her head, as a part of street theater. Remember what I talked about with street theater? People are conduits for the computer's abilities. The people have to be used to affect whatever the computer wants to have done with us. So she called crisis intervention services. The people you call and you go, hey, I got a family member that's not doing well. Something may be wrong with them. Could you please go check on them? So I'm here in the garage. And at this point, I'm sleep deprived. I'm overtly hearing the chatterbot. I don't know what the fuck is going on. This thing's got me smoking cigarettes. I don't even fucking smoke cigarettes. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. Nothing. So I'm here. I'm asking my dad for cigarettes. I'm sitting in the garage smoking filters. I'm like, and I know a lot of you can identify with that. The computer gets you all smoking cigarettes, chain smoking them in the beginning phases. It wants to have you so fucked up in your head, in the world, out of the world. Anything you do, it wants you to manifest mental health problem. So I'm here. I'm getting burnt. My face is getting burnt. I'm getting head radiated. I'm sleep deprived. My eyes are burnt to phase 1 radiation. Phase 1, 100 to 500 microteslas concentrated. So on your detector, you would see 100 to 500 on that screen. And what that is waking up in the middle of the night, bathed in radiation right on your face, to the point where you're dripping with perspiration and your bed is soaked and you're wet because you are being cooked like you're in an oven of death energy. That's the only way I can describe it. I have videos of it. I'll show that in a subsequent video. I'm going to make a compilation video of all of my videos that I have from 2020, which is not the beginning. That's just when I figured out through watching other people's videos that I could get an EMF detector and start recording it and help to mitigate some of my circumstances. But one of my first videos, you'll see me laying in bed. I got woken up because a part of the torture is to wake people up and tell them and go, hey, I'm going to do this to you, because it's torture. Torture is what it is. So torture is the idea of when you want to torture somebody, you don't kill them, you bring them up to the edge of death and you pull them back again and again and again and again in a repetitive cycle of torture. Killing them would be mercy. That's not torture. So the torture is that the computer wakes you up in the middle of this intense amount of phase 1 radiation, 100 to 500 microteslas, bathing your face and your body and your chest. Usually it's right here, or your sex organs. For me, it was my face. My face would be burning hot with this intense microwave directed energy, just lighting my skin on fire. having my eyes so bloodshot and red and dry. If you know what I'm talking about, please comment below. God damn it, please. Like, comment, like, thumbs up, something. The video is me laying in bed at like 2 in the morning, and I grabbed the detector and I put it on my face, and the thing just lights up. That's the sound the first app that I had for my phone would make, and it would have a skull and crossbones on there with a brain lit on fire. As you see the radar going around, it would make a wild ass radioactive siren noise if you were in the red zone. And on my face, on my head, and then the computer, because it notices that it learns through deep learning that that is not good. Somebody is recording this. Turn that off. You'll see it turn off, and it'll drop to regular levels, and you'll feel a physical relief of the pressure because that energy is going in, and for it to transmit and transmiss through you, it puts physical pressure on your dermal layers. So if you push your fingers on your face, you feel that, right? So there's actually so much energy in a concentrated area. Remember, phase 1 is concentrated. It's concentrated, that much energy. Subsequent phases of your radiation death are not concentrated. It's an enhancing energy. So it's a small area with all of that energy packed tightly in it. So you feel physical pressure because you're trying to fit all of that energy in a smaller area because you want that energy to be maximized on those cells it touches. So you want to shorten the time frame for manifestation of cancer in those areas. For me, it was my frontal lobe here. So you're looking at glioblastoma as a terminal frontal lobe tumor in cancer, probably. And any other area in phase 1, you're looking at bad shit. And it's going to happen quick. In the reference of cancer takes a while, but it's going to happen quicker than normal. And that went on for years. Now it's just a little bit of a clogged nose, a little dry red eye. But still, nonetheless, that's because I'm in phase 3. 5 to 20 microtesla is concentrated. And it wants to hit you hard in the beginning, so that way it shortens the timeline until you're terminal. Hit you hard in the beginning, implement as much energy in those crazy early phases when chaos is erupting. You don't know what's going on, you can't figure it out. What is this? What's going on? Fucking energy on your face, burning your face, eyes are red, you're desocialized, you pull away. If you had a job, you start calling out of work. Me, I desocialized from her. I'm here, I'm smoking cigarettes, I'm sleep deprived. It's torturous. My face is getting burnt with directed energy. You know, I got directed energy on me. Directed energy weapon is what that's for. It's burning my face. I'm not eating. I didn't eat for like days. It's burning the inside of my stomach. All kinds of stuff, you know. So thankfully, I'll say this. I desocialized. I'm here. She's like, the rent's due. What are we going to do? And I'm like, fuck if I know. I'm here, dude. She's like, what's going on? What's wrong? Genuinely concerned. And I appreciated that. So back to the thing where she called the crisis team. So 2 chicks come out here. They come into the garage and they're like, oh, hey, nice to meet you. We're so-and-so from the Montgomery County Crisis Intervention Team. Well, we got a call from somebody who's concerned about you. You know the whole deal. Would you like to go out and get some coffee with us? I'm like, fuck no, I ain't going to get no coffee with you. Coffee with you is going to be, we're going to talk to you about maybe getting some help. So I was like, fuck no, want no fucking coffee, beat it, I'm fine. So they leave, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. You know, I'm getting burnt every night. You know, I sleep maybe an hour or 2, if that, per night. Like, this is bad shit, man. I'm telling you, bad shit. This phase one shit is no joke. And a lot of us relate, oh, it's not as bad now as it was. Yes, it is. You're still being walked and put to death, and you're being inconvenienced with phase two or phase three energy if you're out of phase one energy, radiation. You're still being implemented with some form of radiation. You're not in good shape. You're still being put to death, or at minimum, physically inconvenienced. So that goes on for, oh my God, quite some time. So where this other stuff comes in, what happens is you'll desocialize first. You'll stop going out, you'll stop seeing people, you'll stop hanging out with people, maybe you'll lose your job. That's when it gets to a point where it starts going up in intensity and you isolate, you withdraw, and you stay inside. I didn't leave this fucking house. The only time I left this house was maybe in the morning to go with my dad up to Wawa up here to get a cup of coffee. And that was it. I'd come right back here. And maybe sporadically, like, get into my car. But I didn't, at that point in time, I stopped working. And I was just in his house. He would leave me a couple of cigarettes on the table, and I would sit here, and that was it. I don't even smoke. Like, I don't smoke. And I was smoking. And what happened was I was here. That's the isolation. You then shut yourself off from everybody. You know, on top of my last video, like I said, it tries to make you think that your neighbors are doing this to you. They're not. But that's another form of isolation and desocialization in your neighborhood. And what happens with that? They're the people you have to live around. So if you desocialize from all of these people, imagine how much of a nightmare you're going to have. You know, so that's another thing that it tacks onto that. You're desocialized from the rest of society. Then it makes you think that these neighbors, I never believed that. A lot of people will. I never believed that they were doing this to me, or they had a phone or a neural cap. So then I isolate and I'm here, and then, oh Christ, I was taking showers for like 4 or 5 hours. I would stand in the shower, just going like this. I'm not shitting you. Well, maybe like 3 hours. I would stand in the shower for like 3 hours, just shaking like this. And then I would finally get out. And then my grandfather was here. I was taking care of him. So he was like 90 something years old. So you can see the chaos, all of the ludicrous, nut ass bullshit that goes on. You got a 90-year-old dude that's here by himself. I'm supposed to be taking care of him. My dad runs out of the house to go drive homeless bums and dope fiends around for whatever reason, you know, puffing up cigarettes, doing dumb shit, because the computer told him to. And it's just chaos. It's disorder. It's everything that this fucking computer wants to torture you. So I would come down, do my thing with him, but I would know I'm only going to get like an hour of sleep, maybe, and that's it. And it was just this cycle. But also, after this, you have the mental health portion. So what it would do to me with this is it would make me call the ambulance on myself. So it would make me call the ambulance on myself because it would increase the torture so much, the physical pain, the radiation, the directed energy, the sleep deprivation, the disorientation, the fucking, all of it correlated and coordinated, because what the computer has to do, it has to get you somewhere where there is psych. Now, I'm not sure I'm going to spell this right, but psych. It has to get you to psych. And where is that? Well, that's either a psychiatrist or a psychologist, or a hospital with a mental ward. So for me, and if you're lucky enough like me, I didn't have anybody here that really gave a shit, like, or like was competent enough to be like, oh, hey, we got to get you out of here. You're not doing well. My dad wasn't even fucking here all day. So he didn't give a shit. So I was lucky in that regard because a couple of times I said, dude, you gotta get me out of here, dude. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to deal with this. I don't know what is going on. I begged him, and he was like, no, 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 no. You don't want to do that. Yeah. So eventually, if you're not going to voluntarily go somewhere, such as voluntarily commit yourself or voluntarily go to a psych doctor or a psychiatrist appointment and tell them what's going on, whatever you got to do, you have to get a diagnosis or two or three. So I'm going to write that down here as DX. You have to get a diagnosis. Psych diagnosis. So the computer needs you to do that because if for phase one, this is all in phase one. The computer needs you to do that because that will follow you into the future. If you have a 302 is an involuntary commitment. I have two of those. I didn't do that to myself. I didn't say I wanted to be put in the blue paper scrubs with the grippy socks and put on the 7th floor. So what happened was the physical torture got too much. It was bad, bad. So I have a suicide attempt because of this computer. I'm not suicidal. I was on painkillers at that time when I had all this stuff going on. And I took a bunch of those and, I forget what happened, how that happened. But the police came and they got me in the ambulance, got me to the hospital. And that was it. I was in like the ICU for like a night. And then they released me. I wasn't put in any psych ward or anything. Went home. That's it. Came back here. The rest of my pills are still here. And just went back to normal. But I have that following me where there's a suicide attempt. I'm not suicidal. Part of this mental health shit and this torture and all of this is that you may have a suicide attempt. So I have that. So that's helpful if you're trying to get out of phase one. If you're trying to move on and have all of this stop or minimize to go back to a quasi-normal existence, a nearly normal existence, you have to do this stuff. So that way the computer can check its boxes. So the boxes I'll put over here. Box. So we'll go mental DX, mental diagnosis. And then we'll go, suicide attempt. And then, trying to think what else. Well, nothing else really. That's the main thing that I can think of as to what it uses to determine when it can stop all of this stuff. Whether or not you break out of your relationship or whatever is irrelevant because that's going to happen regardless. It doesn't have to happen in phase one. It can happen after that. But your husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend shit, 99% of us, that's going to be done with. You're not going to have somebody with you. One person I saw with a wife down in Florida. He has a kid and a wife, and they were about to get divorced until they found out this is what was going on with them. With the wife, anyway. Give me 1 second. Let me grab a drink. All right, so what happened was, so I get the suicide attempt, so we'll check that off. Yeah, let's see, we'll use a beet red marker for that. Boom, boom. All right, got the suicide attempt. So that helps. So then the computer's like, boom. We got one thing that's going to follow this person. And if anybody looks in your history, your medical history, they'll see that. They'll go, oh man, this guy's a little shaky, trying to kill himself. And also what that does, it brings you to the attention of authorities. So law enforcement, meaning police, you have fire department, ambulance, and your neighbors then start to see this pattern of behavior where the ambulance starts showing up, the police show up, you're making a scene, they're going to start, oh, what's going on? you watch my other video from yesterday or 2 days ago, you'll see what I talk about with the neighbors, and they start talking to each other and going, "Oh, did you see Nick over there had the ambulance at the house again? Wonder what's going on. Wonder what he's up to." Then your neighbors start to, encircle you and talk about you, and you're thinking that they're doing this to you. "Oh, my neighbor's radiating me." They're not. Trust me, it's nobody around you. All right. So I get out of the hospital, and this is all phase 1 stuff. I get out of the hospital, come back here, and it's just continuing. It's manifesting other things too that it was doing to me. It would correlate a rectal spasm. So a butt squeeze is what it was for me. I mean, it's no bullshit. I'm not crazy. This is exactly what the fuck happened. I would think or say the word daughter or anything to reference my child that I just had with the chick that I bounced on. She had her. I threw her out of here because I brought her here and she stole 30 of my grandfather's Ativan. While she was pregnant, she ate 30 milligrams of Ativan and got all high up. So obviously the computer made her do that. She would not have stolen 30 milligrams of my grandfather who's on hospice's Ativan. That was something the computer coordinated and had her do, so that way there would be breaking apart of the relationship. It's easy as shit to do. Okay, I'll talk about that in another video. I already have, but I'll make another video. So I throw her out of here. She bounces to her mom's house, and then so it continues. And whenever it wants to get you out of here back to the hospital, it just escalates the physical attacks. And then you tap out and go, "Get me the fuck out of here." You call the ambulance on yourself. Many of you have called the ambulance on yourself because that's the only way the computer is going to lessen the attack. Because then it took you from somewhere where nothing could be done about you besides harming you, burning you, and basically almost killing you, and took you from there to a place where you are by yourself, you're desocialized and isolated in the emergency room of a hospital by yourself, trying to, getting burnt, and you're pacing around and you're doing this shit. Maybe you're overtly talking to yourself with the chatterbot and they're observing you. They have you in the observation room. After they figure out that you're a frequent flyer and you go all the time, you call the ambulance all the time, it takes a couple of times till they wrap you up the first time. They'll let you go the first time. They'll treat you medically the first time. But the second, third, fourth time maybe is the first time they grab you and they tell you to change out of your clothes and put on the blue paper scrubs. And they give you the grippy socks. This is guaranteed, yo. It's a protocol. It's a standard procedure. Guaranteed. So I get in. I call the ambulance on myself. I go, "Oh, I can't breathe." It was fucking with my lungs. And they come, they pick me up, they hook you up to the things. The police show up again as usual. And they take you to the hospital. This time, though, they put me into a room with no medical equipment. I'm in the room with no medical equipment, except for the little oxygen thing up on the wall and stuff. But that's it. It's like an observation room for psych. So I'm in there, I'm walking around. They come in and tell me to change out of my clothes into the paper suit and put the grippy socks on. I didn't know what was going on. No idea. So they did an intake for psych. No idea. I have no idea. None. They just know. They're looking at the thing. They're going, "Oh, wow. This is crazy." So that's the first time I got a 302. That's an involuntary commitment for psych observation. Could be up to 5 days you're held, here in Pennsylvania anyway. 5 days. So I'm upstairs on the 7th floor at the hospital. Thankfully, it's there. The doctor, Dr. Curry, Susanna Curry. Dr. Curry comes in and she's like, "Oh, hey," and then proceeds to interview me and all that shit. I don't say nothing about voices, nothing. You'll never find anything about that shit in my profile. So she says I'm bipolar. I'm not bipolar. I've never been bipolar a day in my goddamn life. Bipolar diagnosis, what she gave me. And my previous psychiatrist, Dr. Shin, comes in and she signs off on this bullshit too. The only reason I saw Dr. Shin is because years before, the computer was manifesting behaviors in me that were akin to anxiety. It was giving me fake anxiety. So that way I would try to get myself on anxiety meds, benzodiazepines, Ativan, Xanax, Klonopin, Valium, and the like. And which I was. I was on Ativan for just a little bit, and then I threw that shit away. I didn't want that crap. So, I was never anxiety ridden at all in my life. So then, I'm there for 5 days. She swore she was going to take me to a judge and have me adjudicated. I was never adjudicated after the 302. I come back here, and then within like 2 weeks from that, I'm back down there again, calling the ambulance on myself again because the computer's trying to get yet another diagnosis. So it gets another diagnosis. The goddamn thing has me wrapped up again. They put me into the room. I called the ambulance on myself. They took me down there, put me in the room. They come in with a tray with syringes, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? I'm not taking that. I don't need any medicine. It was Haldol, fucking liquid Haldol in a syringe. They were fixing to shoot me up with that shit, and Cogentin. So I'm like, go ask the doctor if I can't take that. I don't need to take that. So she goes out, talks to the doctor, comes back in and says, nope, the doctor said you're getting shot up with it. I'm like, I didn't do nothing. I haven't said nothing. They made me change out of my clothes to the blue paper scrubs again. I'm like, what the fuck? So I go to smack the tray and try to knock the syringes on the ground so I don't have to get shot up with this bullshit. And they bring in a whole goon squad of fucking orderlies and shit, and they fucking toss me on the bed and fucking fist in my face. And they shoot me up with the shit. I wake up and I'm fucking shackled around my fucking legs and around my wrists like this. Can't move on the bed. And I'm like, this is fucking crazy. All because of this dumb fucking computer. And I get put upstairs again. Thankfully, they tried to farm me out to like 11 other places in the area. They wouldn't take me because they said I was like a level 1. I had to have a one-on-one, meaning I had to have a security guard with me at all times because I was dangerous. So I'm upstairs. They put me upstairs again. They took me up there. I'm there for 3 fucking days, I think, at this point, and then I see this doctor, Dr. Elmer something. He brings me in, the psychiatrist, and he's like, well, what are you doing here? It seems like you were just here. And I said, I don't know. What are you asking me for? What the fuck do I know why I'm here? And then he's talking to me, and he releases me. He said, you're out of here. Get out of here. You're not supposed to be here. ADD. He releases me with attention deficit disorder diagnosis. Remember, my other diagnosis was bipolar. That goes to fucking show you this mental health shit is bullshit. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They shoot people up with drugs they don't need. They give them pills they don't want. They make them fucking do things they shouldn't need to do. And he was the only sane one out of the whole bunch. Attention deficit disorder. I already had a fucking attention deficit disorder diagnosis. My entire life has been an attention deficit disorder. So he releases me with a medication, and this is how you know that was the diagnosis. He released me with a medication that was a non-narcotic ADD medication called guanfacine. 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 Not guanfenicine. Guanfacine, called Tenex. He gave me Tenex prescription for the ADD, non-narcotic. Um, and he said, get the fuck out of here. So I had 2 302s, which turned out to be nothing, ADD. You don't wrap people up and put them in a mental ward for attention deficit disorder. That's malpractice. You know what I mean? That's bullshit. You're ruining somebody's life, turning their life upside down to be diagnosed with a condition that nobody commits themselves for. The bipolar completely X'd out with the subsequent diagnosis. So it shows you people don't know what the fuck they're doing. It's just bullshit to get you the mental diagnosis because it's going to follow you from there to the future. And if you want to try and get rid of it, you got to hire a lawyer and you got to go through all that shit. So it's all just torture, directed energy, wants to desocialize, isolate you, and mental health care you. And then that's when it was done. I had one more incident where I went back to the hospital and I got delusional was the diagnosis. I was delusional. And then they just let me go. They never did anything. They just let me go. You know, the usual shit. Like you're a homeless bum and you go in there with some bullshit thing. Oh, my toe hurts. And they go, oh, here's a Band-Aid. You're not bleeding, but they'll give you a Band-Aid and tell you to leave and that they fixed your problem. That's what they started doing. They're like, just get the fuck out of here. They wouldn't even wrap me up anymore. So when the computer noticed that, it stopped doing that shit. I had one more incident at Reading Hospital in this whole thing. That was my first foray into in-person street theater and the utilization of humans to manifest computer behaviors that I noticed, which was I went up there and they put me right into the mental health emergency room part. They have two split off, goes medical, mental. They put me right into the mental part, and the doctor up there, Dr. Nancy Ollinger, I'll never forget it. She was the best. The nurse was like, well, what are we going to do? I told him what the problem was, but I was explaining to her, like, I'm not nuts. I saw you put me in the mental part. Look, my fingernails are clean. My hair is clean. I don't smell bad. And I got to point across to her that I'm not nuts, you know, and she was like, okay. And the nurse whispered under her breath, you're a burden on the medical system. Because that was the computer speaking through her head as a conduit. What street theater usually is something the computer sends into a person around you's brain to either under their breath or directly to you, say or do something to you directly or under their breath to get you to react, to see if you will react to it, and to cause yourself a negative problem. So that was an attempt to have me react to her saying I'm a burden on the medical system. So that way I would go, what did you say, bitch? Fuck did you say about me? I'm a burden. That what you think? You don't even know me, bitch. And that was what the computer was attempting to have happen without emotionally manipulating me into guaranteeing that I was going to have that reaction. I ignored it. I knew what it was. I'm like, the fuck? This nurse never seen me a day in my life. Don't know me. Don't know who I am. I just got across to the doctor that wasn't the case. But that was the computer's last ditch effort to get me to fuck myself up. And I was like, hell no, I'm not doing that. I'm walking out of here. I'm not doing this mental health shit anymore. I walked out. Dr. Ollinger was like, no, we're not going to wrap this kid up. She was like, what are we going to do? We're going to send him upstairs? And she was like, fuck no. Getting the fuck out of here. There's no reason to be here. So she let me out of there, gave me like a referral or something. And I bounced. And yeah, yep. Got radiated like a motherfucker in that parking lot of that hospital. Bad radiation that day. Yeah, so that's it. And that's how you get out of phase one. That's how you have this stuff go from up here in phase one. Well, the radiation continues. That phase one radiation does not correlate and coordinate with phase one of your targeting simulation. You know, your desocialize, isolate mental health care. So you will still be radiated at a high level here. You're gonna call the ambulance on yourself. Like, this shit is crazy. It's crazy because then the police got a dossier on you. They think you're nuts. They're trying to get you the help you need too. They're trying to be helpful, but so how to get out of phase one. I'm gonna summarize it for you. How to get out of phase one is this. Get diagnosis, mental. So you have to get a mental health diagnosis. 1, 2, 3, 1 to question mark. Who the fuck knows how many you gotta get? I had to get 2. I had to have 2 302s, and I had to have a suicide attempt. So all of that coordinated and correlated together with a delusional diagnosis. I was delusional one day. What else? Yeah, who knows what else is there in the background that's just written down. But everything that I went through with the ambulances, you're gonna have to call ambulance. You have to call the ambulance on yourself. You have to tap out and go to the hospital, get the mental health diagnosis. You have to get wrapped up 2 or 3 times. You have to try and kill yourself, or at least make it look like you tried to kill yourself, and then have them write that down. But once you have all of that, no matter how you get it, you want to do the least amount of damage to yourself to show the computer to check these boxes. There's check boxes the computer has to check off to finally end phase one of your simulation targeting. And then you'll see that the attacks will go from up here at a peak in phase one. They will then come down here in the beginning of phase two. So what happened with me to finalize this is that I remember the day. I'll never forget it. It is a day that I will never forget. It was a regular day, getting radiated, fucked up. And then after all of this, over that whole long period of time, that I'm upstairs in my room and I hear the chatbot go, "Congratulations, you're off this thing." "Congratulations, you're off this thing." So I didn't know what that meant. I heard that and I was like, what the fuck? What does that mean? And then I feel this weight lift off of me. I feel this weight come off of me. And I'm up in my room, and I cleaned my room right after that. I had the energy, and I felt normal, and I felt like a human after all of these days and weeks and months of this torture, of this energy, of this sleep deprivation, of these 3-4 hour showers, and all of this craziness going on. What it took was the suicide attempt, the mental health, the delusional thing, all of that added together, added up to enough check boxes being checked that the protocol that I'm in was satisfied. Phase one of that protocol had been satisfied. And I feel like it could have been fast forwarded if I had just gotten the mental health diagnosis way sooner and I had gotten the suicide. All of it had just happened quicker. I would have been bumped out of phase one, the highest level of the fucking physical targeting, the sleep deprivation, and bumped into phase two earlier, sooner. Congratulations, you're off this thing. What it meant was, congratulations, you're out of phase one. And that night, For the first time since my targeting began, I fell asleep instead of being put to sleep. I was able to lay in my bed and go to sleep normally. Of course, it didn't last, you know what I mean? Maybe at night, 2 nights, 3 nights, that I actually got to live a normal life where it was like, oh man, this is what it feels like. I remember driving the car and I'm like, I feel like a normal human. I don't feel this fucking weight of energy burning me, laying on top of me. Well, it didn't last, of course, you know. Here's the energy phases over here. Here's the energy phases over here that obviously continued and continue to fuck me up and will deprive me. You'll see someday, I'm sure, in one of these videos where I'm standing here, probably with a hole in my neck or some form of my neck removed. Is the primary area. But what happens is that phase one, all of you felt the same thing. All of you guys felt the same thing. You felt exactly the same thing. And the exact same thing is that you felt this peak of craziness, calling the police, calling the ambulance, having all this crazy shit happen, getting burnt, getting melted, and you're getting the mental health diagnoses. But then one day, it just stops. One day, if you survived the craziness of phase one, phase two came along. And phase two is when you open that door to the outside world again, and you're no longer desocialized and isolated. Well, you're no longer isolated. Your mental health has already been done. You got that. It's going to follow you. It's going to be stuck to you like glue. But the isolation is over. And the computer pushes you back out into the world and says, go back out there. Go get a job. Go get some money. Because with the money and the job comes the bills. And with the bills comes the money and the job. And with the money and the job comes the bills. Money. Bills. So, boom. Boom. So you go out, you go to work, you get the money, and then you got a little bit of money. What do? You get an apartment, you get a car, you get a place to live, you know, all these things, taxes. So what that does, and I'll get to phase two in another video, but what that does is that keeps you going in that circle all the while coming from the outside. Is the directed energy. So while you're chasing yourself here, gotta pay the bills, I gotta have somewhere to live. Gotta go to work so I can pay the bills, have somewhere to live. Gotta pay the car bill, all these large expenditures. You're busy doing that, going, I can't take a day off of work. I can't do that. All the while, every day, every night is more energy being shot into your body to eventually cost you out. And they've been doing it for decades, and they're pretty fucking good at it. So you in your head are like, oh, I just gotta go to work. Just today, I gotta get this money. The bills are due. If you're a rational human being. But what's really irrational is that when you know you have a system that is infusing you with death, right there, zoom in on that. Infusing you with death, is it really rational to ignore it and go to work? To pay bills for one more day when 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 years of your life is going to be crossed out? Think about that. I'll see you in the next video. Hope you guys have a good night. Please don't give up. Please keep your head up, put a smile on your face, and make the best of the time that you have on this planet and with the people you care about. And try to be positive and be informative and educate people about not just this. This is bullshit. I don't want to do this. I shouldn't have had to do this. But Try to educate people and be positive and be an inspiration while you have the opportunity to live and you're alive. Go out there and help people. And that's it. Just make the best of what you have left, what time you have left, and try to be positive. I'll see you in the next video. So yeah, at the end, like it just stopped. Like it said, "Congratulations, you're off this thing." In my, the chat bot, and that was it. And that was it. And then it just fell into this. Well, and go back to work, and that's where I am today. This fucking just extended duration death, walking to death. It's called. Walking to death. That's what it's called. Because eventually that directed energy is going to break down your anatomy. And if you don't get cancer from it, it's going to break you down physically and deteriorate your body. Have a good night.